So good evening, good night, something like that. It would be better to speak in Portuguese, but okay, let's try in English. I hope you can understand me. I really don't practice a lot English, but usually yes. Let me introduce myself. Because of what? Because I'm Portuguese. It doesn't look like, but I am. I lived in Brazil for almost 20 years. And so I'm 24. No, more than that. And this is my life. So I'm a lean Agile enterprise coach. At Farfetch, I work at Farfetch as a lead Agile coach. And of course, I love my job. We don't only work, we also have life, normal life. So that's why I put these things over here. So I'm a normal person, more or less. So, I guess this is, I don't know if this is a question that is usual to you when we are working with projects. I'm not going to focus on really only on the team, but also in more with questions of the company that usually they can always brought to us these questions. So, who doesn't ever heard this question? It's better to do the negative. Who did? What was your answer?
It depends.
I'll have to check with the team.
Okay, so check. Have you ever heard this before also? Yes? What this reminds to you? What this goes to? Related with metrics? Don't be shy.
Experience?
Agile estimating.
Yeah, estimation.
It's about what is the most common estimation stuff?
Story points.
Yeah, story points. Yeah, it's almost a legend. That's okay, it's story. It's not an episode, but sometimes a legend. So, more or less it's something like this that you usually do. Come on guys, I'm alone here.
Story points are the
So it's like, okay, how many story points you were committed, how many did you complete, and then you can see more or less, and then you have the average, the velocity, and then you have sometimes the commitment, and then you put a target for the commitment, and etc. It's more or less like that? Yeah? Another question. How many of you work with software? Okay, let's do the opposite. How many doesn't work with software?
You speak louder.
Okay, sorry. How many of you doesn't work with software? Okay. With what do you work?
In sales.
Sales? But in a software company?
I'm not.
Okay. No problem. It will do.
digital marketing.
Digital marketing? Not in a software company also. Because we have a team of digital marketing, so that's why. Okay, right. So, you use those metrics, usually in software, and you still have this question. Those metrics answer this question.
No.
No? Fine. People sometimes they want to kill me when I ask this, because when I say that it's possible to be predictable without story points, and usually companies use story points like 99% or something like this to answer that question. But the story points is a team metric, because remember it's about complexity and effort. And so when you target the story points, like to have an answer for the board or something like this, they cannot really change this. They cannot really adapt. because that's why it's complexity. They compare with the past and they try to balance, but they cannot do that. Because imagine if that team made 33 story points and then they put some balance on it and they put 20 story points per sprint or per period. Usually people, they say, oh, they lost velocity, they are not delivering stuff. But do you agree with that? Something similar or no?
No.
Okay, so teams match. Okay, sorry for that. So I give you an example. Also a question for you. How long does it take you to get to work in the morning? Imagine the board. I asked you two questions and the two answers was it depends. Great. That's why they don't leave story points. Probably. Because it's something that they have an answer. Probably.
I actually get to work in 30 minutes.
Sorry?
I get to work in 30 minutes.
Always? Every day?
Of course not.
It depends.
Such thing as always.
Yes, of course. It depends,
There
really.
is no such thing as an infinite.
That's why you cannot really target this, especially.
Of course, you cannot expect to get an answer that's infinite.
Yeah.
Expect to stuff.
Yeah.
Can you ask another question in a different mode? What is your first task that you do in the morning?
Sure.
Look at email, go to a meeting, what
Yeah.
you do in the morning? Take a
Yeah.
cup of coffee.
Yeah, of
What's your
course.
first task?
That's the point, because usually it really always depends, but when we talk about projects and software, when we are going to deliver, always the answer they want like a correct one and a specific one, and it's not like an estimation one. They ask something that you have to deal with that. That's why you put a buffer and so on and so on. Because people, they don't really, in a software world or in a normal world, our world, they are not satisfied or comfortable with that kind of it depends thing, because it's the real thing. So it depends on this, yeah? Basically. If you don't have traffic, more or less, for the first question, if you are in this line, probably you get in 10 minutes or 20 minutes, but if you are in this side of the road, probably you get an hour or something. But here's a spot, probably you're going to have to make it earlier. Oh no, I don't know. So it's something more like this. I don't know why people look like a camera board and they look a spot and let's put here a story. Oh, it's a bug. So this is really important and look for it. Okay. Now I'm going to keep that. Great. I don't know if something of this is familiar with you or not. Check? I guess so. So 99% it's equal in every company. So, this is another question. When I make an interview with some people, let me look at you because then you're going to know the answer. To which team do you deliver an important initiative or project?
Mine.
Imagine that you have two teams, it's the same technology, both are senior. Do you deliver a big project or an important project? To which of them?
The fastest.
The fastest. So imagine that team does its velocity, it's like 30 story points and the other 10 story points. To which do you deliver a project?
You mean to which team do you assign?
Yeah, okay. You assign a
To
project.
the more predictable.
More predictable. What is predictable?
Like for stability, where of course this always suffers from the caveats we saw that past stability is not, of course, guarantee of future stability.
Okay. So, but
Having been the fastest in the past doesn't guarantee that it will be the fastest in the future.
but okay, you said For the one, it's more predictable, and it doesn't matter really how much is the velocity of one or the other.
Well, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter because if they have a sustainable pace of
Yeah.
delivery, I think that's a velocity at least you can count more on more.
You can't
relative terms.
compare velocities between teams.
Thank you. Thank God. Some people they do, okay? Thank you for
Each team
Your sense.
assigns a different
Yeah.
complexity level to the same work items.
But you remember the first thing that we were like discussing? We still stay with story points. How can we be predictable with story points?
With or without?
With, because we only have story points till now.
It depends on the track record of the teams.
Sorry?
It depends on the track record of the teams. If you have a team that misses the mark always, it's not very predictable, right?
Yeah.
If you have another team that is more predictable, you should assign questions.
I'm gonna catch you after
Sorry?
about that. Then we are going to discuss that later. To catch the point or who's going to deliver, if it doesn't have so many carryovers or something like that. It's a nice discussion. So, some of you guess, okay, predictability is the degree to which we can correctly forecast the system's process feature state. So, for that, to be predictable process is one that behaves the way it is expected to. Check? Okay. So let's advance. Fact-based predictability metrics. I don't know how many of you know the Meetup job? No? How many of you know or work with Lean? Nice. Okay, so you have that sentence. You can get here, link it, blog. You can make decisions based on facts rather than forecasts. You get results that are more predictable. Lean development or lean thinking or lean startup or something about lean stuff is the art and discipline of basing commitments on facts rather than forecasts. So what does this mean? It means that you can forecast, of course, but you have to forecast based in facts, in data. So you have to measure. Measure what? So, because you answered like one or two that knows Lean or work with Lean, what is Lean for you? That's, yes. No? Have you ever heard about Lean?
It's about having the minimum level of waste in doing your job.
So basically the objective of Lean, it's really a wrap up. I'm not going to go deep here a lot because it's really another big talk. Basically, Lean came from the Toyota production system and it's based on eliminating waste, but always eliminating waste in the customer's eyes. So everything that doesn't add value in customer eyes is waste. It's really so radical as it is. We have the focus and the scope in value stream processes, so it's improving process performance, and always we see the end state and not the beginning state. What we deliver, not what we are going to put in the flow in the process. And the approach and tools, basically we have Lean techniques and basically learn by doing. So working with hypotheses and check, and also probably you heard about PDCA, plan, do, check, and act. Okay? And so these are the lean principles also. This is important because it's a way that you, when you go through to this way, you can go to some predictability with lean metrics. So basically you have to define value for the customer, from the customer perspective. For that you have to identify the value stream. Then you have to have a continuous flow. You have to have a pull system, or pull process, and of course you have to do the Kaizen, so it's continuous improvement. Okay? I guess. So what is value for you? Because the first stuff was about value. What is value?
It's like an improvement in a desired area.
Okay?
Quite a broad answer, but like depends on what the value proposition is.
Yeah. So
Since we're talking about value for the customer, I'd say it's adding value to the customer's job, to what they help them get their job done.
Yeah.
So, and who defines value
Customer.
for the
Yeah.
customer?
The
Because
market.
in your company, who defines value?
I can define value according also to the effort of my team. So if I could have seen something as a big value,
Yeah.
but also with a big effort,
Yeah.
shall put up so big value in terms of what I can deliver is, in short term. So always this reason between the business value and the effort of the team could give me a value, give me a number about the real value of
Okay,
that.
I'm going to ask you
So,
another question. You told me that value is the customer, is what you define. Who is the customer?
That's the
person.
big money.
The person you're solving a problem for. So maybe the value is the gain that they get from solving the problem.
Okay, you told that is?
Yeah, same.
Okay.
Not the same, sometimes the customer is not, they
Well,
want to pay.
that's a different thing.
Yeah, that's
so
what-
that's a
looking
user and
value.
customer thing, yeah. But,
Yeah.
but the thing is that you can define value gain for each of those groups.
Yeah.
For the user or for the customer, right?
Yeah.
But it'll be different things for different people.
But usually, usually you don't ask who is really going to use the product. Like probably, I don't know, it's 10%. I think it's a lot, 10%. Usually they ask the guy who's going to put money on the project, and the team, the product owner, the mother, the father, I don't know.
Depends, like we're direct to consumer, so we
Yeah.
deal with consumers. So.
So you have to check who is going to use that. Probably is a stakeholder. Okay, it's a report or something, and it's going to do with that. But who is the person that is in the end state that's going to use? And nobody really listens to that person. And that's why you have, it's another talk also, like 80-20, that even when you deliver software with quality, 80%, most of them they don't use. They only use 20%.
Because the rest is too difficult.
Yeah, they don't really ask. And usually you are like running for something that's only 20% uses.
But although it's easy to put it in for maybe a later stage when people will understand it and use it.
Yeah,
So then
some-
you can
yeah.
easily.
And usually put a lot of effort to get 20%. They probably have to do the opposite. They have to put 80% of the 20 and not 20% on the 80 and so on. So, it's like Oxford Pocket Dictionary that says, not me. It says that a value is, you can have two kinds of ways of seeing value. Also in the money stuff, because that's why people do projects, because they want to get some money back. That's reality. Okay? So, but usually we don't measure really money. I don't know how many of you have heard about cost of delay. So, because usually you make that kind of stuff. How long does it take to deliver? And usually you can do this, but you don't really think how long do you lose for each day that you don't deliver. So you have to put in customer shoes also. I don't know if this is going to work, sorry. Let me see. Oops. I don't think this is going to work. So The sound, no? It's going, where is the sound? Okay, let's check.
In most organisations, it seems to take a long time to get things done. Part of the reason for this is not that each of the actions required takes a long time, it's that things actually spend most of the time in various queues, waiting to be worked on. Here's a fairly typical example. It's a feature that took a total of 46 weeks to deliver from when it was first captured. Of that time, it actually spent 38 weeks waiting in various backlogs and queues. You may not believe it, but if you do the same thing in your organisation, you'll probably find something similar. It is not unusual for the amount of waiting time to be in excess of 80% of the total time taken. Seems crazy, doesn't it? The thing is, most organisations are blind to queues. We tend to focus more on the efficiency of the parts of the process, not the whole system that is required to deliver value. This hides how long it takes to deliver value end to end. Part of what drives this blindness is that we have a really poor understanding of how much the delay is costing us. Our gut feel about the urgency and value of things is often quite wrong. For instance, when we worked out the cost of delay for this feature, we discovered that it was actually worth over $200,000 per week. So, the 38 weeks that this opportunity spent waiting in various queues actually cost the organisation almost $8 million in revenue. If they had known the cost of delay earlier, they would have done a number of things differently. If we are to make better decisions, we need to understand how the value of the things we are working on is leaking away over time. Knowing the cost of delay means we can put a price tag on all these queues of waiting. So, understanding the cost of delay helps us in three ways. Firstly, it helps us make better decisions by making the economic trade-offs visible. The value of speed over efficiency is easy to understand. Secondly, it helps us with prioritization. By using CD3, cost of delay divided by duration, we actually deliver more total value for a given capacity. And lastly, cost of delay helps us to change the focus from dates and cost estimates, which can encourage the wrong behavior, to speed and value. Put simply, cost of delay is a way of communicating value and urgency. Without information about the cost of delay, the system will optimize for other things. But more information about cost of delay
Okay? Have you ever think about that before? Usually it's the first thing comes in, the first thing comes out. It's really difficult to measure or to define value. It's also another talk or another workshop to do that. But this is something that I want to touch in this point because it's really important. Because sometimes people say, oh, it's like 2 weeks late. Sometimes it's okay, but then sometimes 2 days late, it's really a big stuff. So first we have always to, and the end state again, we have to understand what is value for the customer or for the one who's going to decide, and he needs to define this. We need to help sometimes, of course, and then we have to start with that point. So we don't start from the beginning, but we start from the end. So we have to know what is lead time and cycle time. Remember the video that usually people focus on the cycle time. Imagine software, it's something when you put from the web development till the end. This is sometimes we have some cues here also. And the lead time is from when someone asks something, from the clock starts running until it's delivered. Usually, of course, during this lead time you have several cycle times. You have cycle time from commercial area, cycle time from business area, cycle time from blah blah blah, cycle time from release, cycle time for someone to decide, and you have several cycle times. Imagine the whole company. cycle time to hire, cycle time to stuff. And the customer is still waiting. And usually we want to perform the cycle time, the development cycle time. I'm going to show you that it's a real case. And this is something that always repeats from company to company, from team to team. This is really stable. That's something like this. So to do this, for you to find what is the lead time and the cycle time, you have to do this first. Remember the value stream mapping. I don't know how many of you know this and how many of you apply this in your company. How many knows? Apply? Oh, great. Knows? Apply. Another workshop. So, this is from a team. I put an average of lead time, cycle time, and waiting time. And this is a fact for that team. So, this is the cycle time per feature. For several features, imagine a sprint with 2 weeks, 8-10 days, and then you have several features, imagine a team, and the average, it takes 3 days. Really, the cycle time is like 3 days, and then one needs to wait because we have the release team and so on. So we have 36 days since stakeholder asks something until you deliver, in average. But you have 4 days of cycle time, so it's waiting 33 days. In percentage, it's more or less like that. So you have, again, the Pareto law, 80-20. Again, it's always 80-20. It's easy to work with software. So, and usually what companies do, you have to deliver the team's velocity, they have to deliver, then they put more stuff in the flow. But the team is always the same, or they increase the team and then, oh, they don't understand why the team doesn't deliver more because someone arrived and they look like they are going to work with construction, doing walls. It's really easy, and it's not. So pay attention to that. So what we did, what we had to do is to improve this stuff. That's why Lean is really helpful for us, because when we see where do we have the queues and the waste, it's easier for us to focus on that because we have a big improvement. And so if we have a less day for a lead time, only to do this, we can approach to deliver what is important to deliver, feature or whatever, also in the commercial area or even other processes. So this works for human resources, sales, and so on. But that was an average. What is important to understand, I don't know if you ever heard about classes of service. It's also a stuff from Lean thinking and also about Lean. It depends on which stuff that you are going to process. So you have an average, but sometimes bugs, they have some kind of behavior in your flow. New features have another, new features B have another behavior. So it's like when you go to the supermarket. I always explain this way to the teams in the company. Imagine that you go to the supermarket and you're going to buy some fruit, and it depends how many strawberries you have a bag, how many strawberries you can buy, input in that bag. So probably 100, I don't know, 200. But if you're going to buy a watermelon, you cannot put a watermelon and also 200 strawberries. So you have to know your capacity. And capacity is not the number of people, okay? Also something when, we have to know the capacity, how many coins per person. Oh, shit. Okay. So in that case also what we discovered that we have a lot of waste in all kinds of classes of service. And we have a behavior of that in some backlog stuff. Was in that team, of course. So usually people, they do what? They use the backlog as a remember. They put, let me open an issue in Jira, a story, and then I'm going to remember, and then, oh, lives there. And sometimes you have some feature that stays there for 6 months, and then you can put in the cycle time of development in 3 days. So 6 months, 3 days, I don't know if that feature deserves to be processed, because probably it doesn't pay for that 6 months waiting. It's that kind of stuff that we have to remember. So basically what we have to focus is, we have to focus on what add value. And you have these two kinds of waste at clean. You have some totally pure waste that usually is the queues. If you can eliminate, please eliminate now. And then you have non-added value, but you have an incidental waste. It's like something that is in your process, but you have to deal with that, but it doesn't really add value to your customer. But you have also to focus here to improve, to be the shortest way that you can. So, here we have little law. I don't know how many of you knows this. So here is your metric. Basically you have cycle time, work in progress or in process, and throughput. So throughput, you divide the WIP, what is in process, to the cycle time. So imagine that you have 15 features. Let's imagine a sprint. It's easier for you. Like 10 days, you have 15 features. The throughput is 1.5. Okay, so 1.5 feature per day you can process. And the WIP is of course the other way around. So you only need these 3 metrics to have a forecast. So in that particular team we had 1.81. This is for different kind of fruit, remember? Bugs, features and so on. But the average was 181. And this was now, and they say, oh, this team improved a lot. But it's not true, because since April that I was there till now, it was always 1.8, the average. It was really interesting, but the team is completely different now, because they already know that now, they didn't know before. Also the company knows, the business knows, so they know how many stuff that team can process and deliver. And we don't really need story points to do it. So, what is important to do that is the for law curve. This is universal for everything also. A small number of features have a very high cost of delay, because when you do big, you don't do small batches, you take longer time, or you take more time to deliver. That's why you have a cost of delay. That's why you have some problems with carryovers, and that's why usually people, they work a developer in a story, and you cannot really do that sometimes, most of the times. And you have to focus on what is the business feature, and you have to deliver value. And when you do a Frankenstein that you put like several stories that don't really add value, and you are always waiting for the other stories to add value, remember that, oh, but this we deliver in 3 days. But the last piece is like 3 weeks or a month or 3 months. And you have to wait for that to catch. And then you can deliver that. So we have also some problems. So it's better to focus on one thing, and you work on that thing and you deliver, and you have a shorter lead time and cycle time, and you deliver things for your customer or your business, and then you also have much more amount of money. So usually you use this as a diagram because you want, oh, but we need some graphics. Okay, you have one. Only one, it's okay. You don't need a lot. Usually we use like, I don't know, 4, 5, 6. And with this graphic cumulative flow diagram, you can see the WIP. If you increase the WIP, usually you have a longer cycle time. If you have small batches and a short WIP, usually you have you deliver faster, a cycle time. So what this means that you can also see the queues. I don't know if you ever something like this. In Jira has and some other tools. No one's really used this because they don't understand. They think it's like a color paint block, something like this. So if you see here, we have a lot of backlog, and this is a queue. Stock is waste. Also here you can see what is delivered live in production. Also in testing you have a queue, waste. So to see a continuous flow is when all these steps, phases are really almost similar. It's like one. And usually what people do, remember the first Kanban figure, you have to put a lot of stuff. Oh, but we are working. And when you go at the end, the sprint ends and you deliver one feature. Oh, but we were working 13 or I don't know. It's better to work in 2 things and you deliver the 2 than you work in 20 and you don't deliver nothing. Simple as that. So please, to increase agility, you only have these 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 methods. Of course, you need the business value to know which one you are going to prioritize first. And this is a sentence for you. An organization is delivering value with agility if it strives to reduce the lead time. Now you understand why, I think. Between the idea generation to validating it through a market feedback. Also, when you have feedback loops with that, you also know that something that is in your backlog probably is going to change, or probably what you think you are going to produce, you don't need any longer to produce it. So you are also working in reducing cost, basically. And also reducing the 80-20 again. So starting is with reducing lead time, delivering less time more often. Don't be afraid of failure. Learn with that and adapt. And when you have this increasing feedback loops, also you have a feedback, and then you know how to you learn, and then you can adapt again. And please do not do this. Don't increase your throughput. Oh, it's not mine, I guess. So usually what companies do, they put more stuff for the teams to work, and they want to put something that they really cannot deliver. If you know the throughput of your team, you know that please try to measure, and probably you're going to figure it out, and then you know that it's like 15 items or 50 stories, similar like that, or you have to put classes of service of which, and you can play with that, and you know, and you have a continuous flow. If you have to increase, okay, create another team. Please don't put in a team of 5 more, 10, because then you're going to crash. It's better to have 2 teams of 3 than 1 team of 6. So, please try. It's my advice. Basically, this is the recipe. It's not really a recipe because each company has its own way. But if you do that, probably you're going to know and face the problems. Usually, we don't want to see the problems. What Lean does and what value stream mapping does is to put all the problems that you are in the shelves, and you put in your Kanban board, please, like it is, and then you start working in those queues, in those ways first, and probably you don't need to really improve your cycle time. And please leave your teams rest and let them work, please. So basically it's that. Visual measurement is really important for that because you can see all that stuff. And another again, that remember that I told you that team in particular, it was really stable about the throughput was 1.8. But they can put other stuff that they did before. So they continue to have 1.8, but besides of that, they also have these other ghost games, because it's not really sometimes visible, but you can see the way they act, the motivation, because they know that they can deliver. What you must have in your mind is that no team is really happy when they don't deliver. They don't deliver because they want to. I'm not going to deliver because I'm going to see that I don't like that person. It's because they don't really know, they need help. So you need to help them to see that. This safety environment was because a guy of the team was like insecure, push the button, and then with some kind of features because he was not really used to before. But when he did this in a sprint, no, let me do because now I know, woof, and he pushed the button. It was really interesting. Oh, this transformed. Oh, nice. So that's what motivation. So thank you for your time.